the contribution that an airport can make to your economy, the number of jobs it provides, the stimulation that it provides to development and growth and business locally, versus the vulnerability that you have as a borough to the airport's fortunes, which was exposed by COVID, the number of jobs that are vulnerable to changes in air traffic and airport business. How do you feel about the sort of that dynamic? What's the airport like as a partner?
So the airport as a part, we have a very good partnership. So I regularly meet with the chief executive of Heathrow Airport, and actually it's you know, I think the perception out there is that the airport is looking after the airport, and actually what I've come to realize over many years, even before the pandemic, is that actually the airport wants to be a good local partner to local authorities and residents, because such a large number, again, in my ward, the ward that I represent, Heston West, a large proportion of the population there are actually employed directly or indirectly as a result of Heathrow being where it is. So that's a massive impact, and we really saw the impact of a reduced aviation sector during the pandemic, and the effect it had locally. We saw a massive increase in claims for council tax support, which is a discount that we offer on the council tax bills. We saw an increase in universal credit applications from my side of the borough because of the downturn in aviation. So there are environmental concerns that I know we have to address in terms of Heathrow. My sense is from my conversations with them that they are also very aware of those challenges, and they're up for dealing with that challenge. And they are an absolute key local employer. And so the challenge for us is, how do we scale up some of their activity in terms of local employment, apprenticeships, and opportunities for young people, especially in the borough. But also, we have to be aware that if there is a downturn, it did catch us a little bit by surprise. The pandemic kind of changed the rule book completely. So what we're doing as a council is, again, using our unique position to look at things like skills escalators and the local supply chain. So changing our procurement practices to buy local as opposed to using national suppliers, and skilling up people who have traditionally done sort of low pay jobs associated with the airport, how we can skill them to get proper jobs that pay decent London living wage that we're really, really keen on in the economy more widely.
So using the airport as a partner to make those things happen. Okay, let's a different aspect of partnership. You mentioned life chances for young people. What partners do you need to make that happen? What ability does a council have to actually improve life chances for young people? Because you don't run the hospitals, you don't really run the schools, right? So what can you do there? What sort of partners do you need to support you?
So it's not so much about running them, but you're absolutely right in what you're saying, Toby. But the key here is using our position as very much the sort of center of the community. So as a council, we work with so many different people, organizations, both public and private, on a daily basis, and so there's that sort of hard power, the sort of you can build something into a planning application and a planning document and a section 106 agreement and all of that, and that's absolutely fine, and that's proper. But actually it's the soft influence that's really important. It's saying, look guys, we have these issues, and if we have these issues, you're also going to feel the impact of those issues, be it unemployment, be it deprivation. That will all have an impact on the way you interact with the borough as a whole. So how can we work together? And I think we showed that really well during the pandemic. Again, very quickly we were able to get a range of partners from Heathrow, Brentford, and a lot of the businesses, Sky and GSK at the time, around the table to say, look, here's the challenge laid out. We're seeing the effects of deprivation. We're seeing the effects of a downturn in the economy. We were the second highest gross value added in London. We're now suffering because of the downturn and people losing their jobs. How can we come up with solutions together? Because it needs to be together, so that we can try and deal with these. Because the reality is, if each individual part of that system goes it alone, actually you'll get some solutions, but you won't get a joint up solution. You probably won't achieve the outcomes that you want to achieve.
So you're sort of acting as a convener, if you like, of all of the influencers that can have an effect on your ambitions. Is that the same when you're talking about your ambitions in development and growth, or are you a bit more direct there with using, as you said, planning regulations and the local plan to ensure that the houses that you want get built and so on?
So there's a joint role in my mind there. So there is the convener role, and that's about putting out the message that Hounslow is open for business. It's open for a conversation, and actually, we've got expertise within the organisation to start thinking about some of the fundamental issues that affect residents in the borough, and businesses as well. Beyond that, then the more formal side of it is actually how do we translate some of those conversations and say to those that want to come into the borough, look, this is our ask. This is what we're looking for. So, our local plan doesn't need to just identify sites that could be developed for what use. It's actually about that place. So I've asked my colleague Tom Bruce to take on the regeneration and development portfolio, as Steve used to hold that. And a part of his brief is, let's really look about the place. So it's not just about the bricks and mortar that you're putting into the ground and the Section 106 agreement that you're going to put in place, but it's about saying development works in Hounslow because it doesn't just build something, it regenerates an area. And that's really, really important for me. And I think for residents as well, actually, they are more receptive to the idea that not only will something be built next to their house or further down the road, but actually as part of that, we'll be looking at their local parks and green spaces, we'll be looking at the conditions of their pavements, we'll be looking at what the community needs as a whole, and that will be delivered because we had really good, robust conversations with our partners who wanted to come and invest in the borough because we wanted them to come and invest in the borough.
Thanks, Shantanu. Now, I've kind of directed all of your responses on partnerships, and do feel free to talk about other partnerships or other ways in which you're looking at partners. But my last sort of direct question is around a sort of internal partner you've got. You've got a wholly owned company, Lambton 360. What's the future of the partnership with that? How do you see making use of them as a partner?
So Lambton is actually really key to all our plans, and it's been through a process of development and evolution over the last couple of years, and not helped by the pandemic. I mean, the idea of a wholly owned local authority company is that they are used to deliver a lot of the services that we offer. So at the moment, our the Lambton group of companies deliver for us maintenance on our estates. They deliver our maintenance on green spaces. They do development and leisure. as well. So quite, and waste and recycling as well, of course. And the idea is that we are able to be a little bit more commercial in the way we use Lambton to try and generate a surplus that goes directly back into the services that we offer. So Lambton will be really key, and you know, in the same way that the council has changed the way it procures services to be more locally based. Lambton has done exactly the same, and I think I saw a figure a few months ago saying that actually of all their procurement on the development side, 70% was procured locally, which is fantastic for the local economy. So we want to do more of that, and we want Lambton to be quite commercial. At the moment, the barrier to that is actually the recovery from the pandemic, and you know, that fundamentally changed a lot of our assumptions around the way Lambton would work. So we're reassessing that, looking forward, and so that it can start delivering on some of our aims over the next couple of years.
Thank you. I guess underlying all of this conversation about partners is what you referred to earlier, which is the sort of austerity of the last 10 years or so, and the financial straits of the council. You continue to hold the portfolio for finance, as I understand it. The council's finance, Hounslow's finance, how bad is it?
So there's a lot within that, and I don't want to make it sound too technical, but at the heart of it, you know, we've had about 160 million pounds over the decade of austerity taken out from the organisation. So that's, you know, someone put it to me, it's 60 pence in every pound that comes in goes straight, has gone, and that really does impact on our ability to offer services. And so we have gone through that process of having to cut services that the residents held dear, and it was very, very painful. However, I would balance that, and perhaps I would say this as the cabinet member for finance, but we are a very prudent council. You know, we really do look after the money, and we look fundamentally at how we can continuously deliver value for money. And we're very lean as an organisation, but very efficient. And you know, part of our mantra about being ambitious for Hounslow is not necessarily about increasing the cost, it's about being innovative on how we offer services going forward. So, you know, in terms of challenges on my desk constantly, we know that we've got an aging population, people are living longer, and that's a great blessing. But within that comes the demand on adult social care, and that's my biggest spending area. In children's services, you know, especially in special educational needs, there are big pressures, and the funding solutions that we would expect from government just aren't there at the moment. And we're, you know, as a sector, local government, I think across the board, I think if you talk to other council leaders would say exactly the same thing. They are having to fight for funding that just isn't forthcoming. So, you know, we're holding deficit positions on some of our SEN stuff, which government has accepted we can do. But for us, our natural instinct says holding a deficit position is not ideal. So it makes things difficult. But if we're being efficient, if we're understanding where the cost pressures are, it means that we can prioritise money there when it's needed, and really manage the market effectively. And we can also look at where we can innovate as well. So yeah, we try to keep a really tight control on the purse strings. It gets harder and harder. The other thing within that is obviously council tax. So we've always said as a council that we wouldn't increase council tax unless we absolutely had to. Part of the problem now is that you know, some of the funding that comes forward from government, even though it is a sort of low amount, we've got a low base, is contingent on us taking council tax increases. So you know, we have to take some of those unpopular decisions, but be very clear with our residents that we will be prioritising things like adult social care, children's services, the environment, and public realm as well, in that money, that increase in council tax that we take from residents. And of course, we've got the most generous council tax support scheme actually in the country. So we're one of very few councils in the country who still offer up to 100% discount. And our bands it's a banding system, and they're very tight. So those on the lowest incomes are almost guaranteed to get the support that they require. And we've got so many different funds that we offer, from discretionary housing payments to hardship funds as well that we offer. So there's a lot in there, and you only really achieve it by understanding where the pressures are, understanding what's coming in, and really pushing the councillors and the officers here in the council to be innovative with every pound that's spent.